Hi everyone, and hope everyone's doing great and enjoying your summer wherever you're at. And man, we're halfway through the year already. It's kind of crazy, but I hope you're doing great. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and let me know if you have any ideas, comments, thoughts, stories, suggestions, anything. So thanks again for watching and participating. I think it's awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about life in the physical universe. And there have been a lot of cool congressional hearings, whistleblowers about what the U.S. government knows, and are UFOs real, and are aliens real? And the answers that are coming out are yes. So, and I think a lot of us kind of knew that already. I think it depends. Okay, so if you're like maybe in, let me see, maybe in my age range, well, let's say anywhere from 30 to 60. Okay, so somewhere within that range. You probably grew up like I did, and hearing about, Roswell and weather balloons and things like that, and the government's UFO sightings. Are they real? That sort of thing. And probably have the assumption that, like me, and I know a lot of people I've talked to, were, yeah, UFOs are real. The government's hiding it from us. And, well, that's true. Seems to be true. So, but what I found fascinating, and I've been watching a lot of documentaries, and some of these hearings too, I think they're really cool, as I was trying to understand the kind of the nature of life in this universe. And it's been really interesting, the information I've got from documentaries, and these declassified documents you can find online. And also, of course, channeling sessions with my spiritual guides and people in the afterlife, trying to piece this information together. So, very fundamentally, just to begin there, I just kind of want to describe, like, well, okay, so we have the duality of physicality and non-physicality. So we are all physical. Of course, we have non-physical aspects to us, like our minds, our memories, our souls, and our thoughts and everything like that. So, but to split this duality, or this duality rather, is literally what underlies all that there is. So things are either physical / non-physical, or completely non-physical. Now, so as far as so this life, and I know there's a lot of there's just a lot of theories about where everything comes from, but my understanding is this is all physical evolution, period. And evolution occurred in the non-physical realm, just like it did here. Everything is infinite and infinitely possible and everything like that over there. But we're, of course, limited by physical rules and laws and that sort of thing. They're a lot more advanced, I think, than we realize, the rules of physicality. And that's kind of revolves around this discussion too. So to begin, as far as life in the universe, so there's us, of course, and like to split physicality into a simple, just for simplicity's sake, there are things, let's split it into dense and not dense, like dense matter, and then like higher resonating energy or frequencies, for example. So there's you and me, and there's this computer and everything, solid dense matter. But there's things that are real, that are physical, for example, like radio waves or microwaves or television waves, or air, even things that are physical, that are real, that we can't necessarily perceive on a day-to-day basis. So just like evolution occurred with stars and galaxies and us and humans and trees and everything like that on like the lower half of the density scale, it also existed on the higher half of the density scale. And I don't mean higher or lower in terms of superior, inferior, or advanced or not advanced, but just simply a spectrum to kind of help conceptualize that there are different levels of physicality, and life that can exist on them as well. So, for example, there's a really cool documentary called CE5, and he talks about these beings he calls celestials, and it shows them. They kind of look like a glowing. You can see the outline barely of a. It's hard to even say like a human or a person, but you can kind of see a head and glowing eyes. But and the reason because it looks like that is because they exist on these frequencies that we can't even necessarily see with our own two eyes. So we would need special equipment to see them. Just like with night vision goggles or heat sensors or stuff like that, that we don't pick up on a day-to-day basis. There's life that exists that we can't see simply using our own eyes. So that is why special equipment is needed to see like beings and UFOs in order to even detect them. Now they do have the ability. Actually, let me back up a step. So there's advanced life that is really ancient and have reached like the highest levels of, not highest, but very high levels of consciousness, information, technology, worlds and planets, for example, that exist both on our frequency of density, like Earth, and also on these higher frequencies as well, like these celestial beings. Once they get to this point, they can master and understand the ability that there are different degrees or levels of physicality and make themselves be seen, or phase or shift, or project into these lower or higher frequencies in order to be seen and heard and communicated with. So it's interesting. So these and some people refer to this as like the lower, higher dimensions. So I kind of use that interchangeably. And that's just kind of, for me anyways, kind of like a simple way to refer to more dense frequencies versus higher ones. So aliens and UFOs aren't just limited to what we can see and are physically used to. There are ones out there that literally exist on planets that are outside of our ability to see them. So I think that's fascinating for one. And those celestial beings are kind of a good example of that. So both these planets and civilizations that evolved like Earth on the lower dimensions and the higher dimensions, like the higher resonating frequencies, like these celestial beings, there are civilizations that have reached like the highest levels of technology on both those spectrums of physicality. So I think that's amazing. It kind of opened my eyes to the idea that, because I always just kind of assumed it was just physical, dense physical stuff. And I kind of had a general idea about, thanks to like movies and both Star Trek and like, Marvel Comics and stuff, just the idea between phasing through stuff and, becoming less dense and that sort of thing. But I'd never really even conceptualized or realized that evolution can occur on these higher frequencies just like it can for us, and can thrive just like it does. So there's a spectrum of physicality to consider and be understood that I found amazing. So, these beings, so one of the questions I had also asked was, will have any of these beings, okay, so they have actually the ability to source from 0 point energy, the very same process that led to evolution from eternal space, and the 0 point field of energy that is everywhere. And in other words, they can understand and replicate the process that brought them to be and brought us to be. Meaning, if they can source this unlimited energy and recreate the sort of thing, they can literally harness and create this energy to build the very things that we draw from nature. In other words, they can recreate, for example, trees or water or that sort of thing. And they can, just like it took evolution billions and who knows, trillions or however long it took to like form Earth and then our atmosphere and then life evolved and et cetera and that sort of thing. That process they can streamline and harness, and therefore, because 0 point energy is unlimited, they have the ability to harness unlimited resources for things like food and material for clothing and shelter. So they have actually fixed and realized these things on their planet and are able to reach a certain level of peace and benevolence and technology, which gives them long-term health, no hunger, and the ability to build shelter and all the basic elements and necessities of life. They have been able to evolve to a certain point of it not being an issue, and have reached peace on overall in their civilizations, unlike we have here. We're still trying to figure those things out, and so it's very interesting to know that, and we're on the way to doing that too, which is quite fascinating. And our government already has a lot of this technology, and so does China. China is hot on our tail as far as having this level of technology and harnessing it for themselves. So the U.S. government actually has aircraft and even like pilots for some of these crafts, which they've actually, some of these whistleblowers have admitted in some of these congressional hearings. And that's how they were able to start reverse engineering technology that defied the laws of physics that we thought we knew to this day, as far as we can understand them, and how these craft can maneuver and travel at these vast distances over short periods of time. So because they have this mastery of literally the fundamentals of physical reality itself. So I think it's really we're starting to break new ground here. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, but the fact that there's more sightings and the government's finally admitting this sort of thing, and we're exploring outer space now. I'm really curious to see over the next few decades exactly what becomes made available to us. So, these species just across the board, and there's not. Okay, so part of the picture, and I understand how our U.S. government is viewing this with a wary approach. So a lot of people say, well, they're keeping this from us, or, why don't they share this or share that? So we haven't achieved unity and balance on this earth yet. So, and we don't know, now, even though these, we're actually watched over and protected, and there's non-interference by these advanced civilizations. And if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, if they have this technology, they can come in and wipe us out like any time, or enslave us if they want to, but they allow for us to evolve and reach a certain point, which we have, which we're now exploring outer space, and we can start communicating with them. So, so we know they're real, and we're communicating with them, the U.S. government, that is. But, like with any new experience and new understanding, you have to be careful. And it makes sense. So I understand, we just have to approach cautiously, and the information we get and the communications we have with them. We still have enemies on this planet. We still have China and Russia, and we have a lot of ideological enemies that we have to be careful about. We can't just get all this information and share it with everybody, because they could use it against us. And China's already exploring this kind of technology like we are. So, and this is another reason too, because I asked the question, these advanced species, why don't they just show up and give us, what we need to thrive down here? So, but if we can't, we have to come to that on our own, because if they were to show up, remember, everything's like a double-edged sword. Atomic energy can be a cheap, powerful form, a way to power a country. For example, or it could be used to make atomic bombs and, destroy an entire country in a matter of minutes. So the type of technology that if they just show up and give it to us, that may be the catalyst for more war, or how we use it. So we have to come to our own realization and gradually develop this on our own. Otherwise, they'll have had a hand in, possible positivity, but on the other hand, possible more warfare and destruction. So until we have to responsibly start to learn to understand this sort of technology and information and apply it, for example. But yeah, make no mistake though, if we push too hard, and I think our U.S. government and other world governments are aware of this, they have the ability to push back pretty hard too. So, now some of the interesting questions, what I haven't got the answers to yet, if they're so advanced in that sort of thing, And we not only have some of their craft crashed and we retrieved them and the pilots, but we have brought down, using this new weaponry that we've learned to use, vehicles like UFOs, and then we study them and reverse engineer them. So, and I'll have to do another video on this because I don't know the answer to this yet, but my question was, well, why don't they come down and retrieve their craft and retrieve their bodies if they are so advanced? I mean, you would think at the very least, if this basic, tribal civilization that's starting to, we haven't necessarily really attacked yet, but we have downed or retrieved crashed vehicles. Like, why wouldn't they come down and retrieve the bodies or retrieve the spaceships? It may just be an understood and accepted reality, like if we send, if we have scouts out everywhere and they die, then it's just kind of the cost of the job that they're doing, unfortunately. And we haven't, over the past few decades, this is new, this communication with these extraterrestrial ET civilizations. And so it's not like we trust them and they may not trust us, and they have this general non-interference policy. So there could be diplomatic back and forths about, hey, give us our craft back and that sort of thing. And, I don't know, to be honest. But I do know it's not like we've been in contact with them all the time over the past hundreds or thousands of years. This is new. It's only a few decades. So that could be part of it. But I found that one interesting question I haven't really had the answer to yet. So, well, that's all I wanted to kind of share so far. And as far as the reality of UFOs and aliens, and not only are they real, but the fact that they exist on different frequencies and higher dimensions. So, because I don't really hear that explained very well. I've never put that together until recently. So I've heard all sorts of cool stories and, that sort of thing, but I never really understood what they meant by this or that or dimensions but when you boil it down basically to a basic level, that's all it is, different degrees of physical existence. So it was cool to me. It kind of blew my mind and it made sense and kind of helped a lot of the pieces fall together into place more and kind of helped follow these conversations I'm seeing recently and information I continue to read about. So I wanted to share that and I thought it was really cool. And that's it for now. Because I've really been getting into this stuff. I think it's really awesome. So I will put up more videos and talk to you guys later. So thank you very much, and thanks again for watching. And please take care. We'll see you in the next